we can start.
Okay. So let's talk about May 10th. Think back, it was less than a month ago. It was a beautiful day. Where's you working?
We're just going to be thinking about May 10th.
Yeah, just think about May 10th for a little bit. What do you remember about May 10th?
Let's see.
5 days prior, it was Cinco de Mayo.
Okay.
6 days prior, it was May the 4th. Be with
We learned about animals in sport.
you. Do you hate that as much as I hate Pi Day?
There we go. It was a beautiful day. I love Pi Day.
Oh,
So,
okay. Well, I
yeah,
hate
I guess
Pi
we're.
Day. Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was sunny. It was partially cloudy. And I drove from here all the way up to Hamilton and back. I know how it was beautiful everywhere. The reason I was up there, I was helping an old friend move her fiance into her new house. And in doing that, I made a new friend. And it was just an amazing morning. That got really even better when I got a message from a friend of Brandon's, who's sitting right over here, inviting me to join my dream band, a ska cover band. And just as a side note, our first public show is tomorrow or next week, Saturday at the Otsego Park for Pride-Palooza. So come see us. We will play songs that you probably know. So on top of that, and this next one is kind of a little weird. I got pulled over on my way home from Oxford, or in Oxford, for driving with a suspended registration, not a suspended license, a suspended registration, which only happens in 2 different instances. One of them being a lapse in insurance, which happened to me back in January. So I thought the issue was over. It was not. Thought I was going to be stranded in Oxford, but they didn't tow my car. The cop actually looked at me and said, "I'm not telling you can drive away, but I'm telling you I'm turning around and driving to the other side of the village, and you can do whatever you want to." Okay, so I drove back. Something that should have been terrible, really good. I was in a really good mood driving home, despite having to go to court in a couple of weeks. And then I got invited out to hang out with my new bandmates, 2 of them anyway, and it's the first time I had seen live music in a local setting in a very long time. Had a great time. And I got home from that, I was just super high from the day, and I opened my phone and Facebook had, all the videos from Smartypants for today, because it just so happens that May 10th was the last time we all met, or you all met. I wasn't here. And so I'm like, I'm going to watch these. This is going to be a great end to my evening. And then within 5 minutes, all of that changed. Because in the first 5 minutes of the first video, I was furious. The amount of emotion that was filling my belly was just over the top. And I came to the realization that Adam Jeffery Del Cano is a stupid doo-doo head who doesn't know anything.
Wow.
And that's what we're here to
Don't
talk
change
about.
that.
Why am I just learning about this now?
I don't know. You've known him forever. But I saw everything that happened just in the first 5 minutes. His video was like 30 or 40 minutes long. But just the first 5 minutes. That's all.
Oh no.
Now, so before we go into this, we have to realize that Adam, in presenting, actually presented 2 separate presentations.
Or 5.
I only saw it as 2. And in creating this presentation, he did a lot of things wrong, or it could have been better. So we have to sort of look into where Adam went wrong. And the first and most obvious thing is that he woke up on May 10th, 2025. He should have just stayed in bed. is really, I mean, anyway. So I want to explain the two different presentations. So at the beginning, he's actually rebutting my argument that I made at the very first meeting of the Endwell Smartypants, in that pants are bullshit. Yep. And he went from the standpoint that pants aren't evil and made this very lackluster argument, in my opinion. But then, about 5 minutes in, the presentation completely changes. And it goes from being pants aren't evil to, I'm going to get the name wrong, Jason Zindula is evil, or rather is going to be evil in 10 years Star Wars time, which, well, that comes later. I want to focus on the first 5 minutes. And I also want to say that just in case you don't believe me, even the phone knew that Adam was done after 5 minutes and tried to get him to stop, but he didn't.
Okay. So my argument here so far is that from a deontological perspective, pants are in the clear. Okay? Now, I'm also going to give you an example of something that is evil. Okay? Just so we have some contrast.
That's the 5 minute mark. The phone falls, and Adam so like, you could have been done. You're like, pants are in the clear. We could have walked away. Everything still would have been terrible. But I will say this: the second presentation on whether or not he is or will become evil is actually very well thought out, very well put together, very well done. It's just your take on pants is just totally off base. So, the phone tried to save you. You didn't listen. Wyvern tried to save you. Wyvern tried to say, for the first 3 minutes, Wyvern is just running around babbling and going on and on and on. And I understood that to be, Dad, you need to stop talking. You don't know what you're talking about.
Trying to redeem their father, classic Star Wars.
Yeah. When you didn't, though, and I don't know how the phone fell. I was not here for that. It sounded like Wyvern might have bumped into it, or gravity happens too. So, but then Wyvern continues to go on and talk throughout the second half of the presentation too, probably critiquing all of the stuff that had happened in the first 5 minutes. So let's look at Adam's flawed arguments. So he goes about trying to prove that pants aren't evil by using a lot of big fancy terminology as a way of sort of distracting from the fact that he is wrong. So he uses the word consequentialism, and even says something to the effect of, I need to be much smarter and have much more time to put this into a proper argument. Now, here's the thing. The second presentation that Adam made proves that his brain is big enough. It was very well put together. He understands a lot and is obviously very smart and intelligent and able to speak. But when it comes to needing more time, Adam was supposed to present in April and had to miss it because he forgot that he had to work. And so he had a whole extra month to put this together, and still didn't. So that part, complete bullshit. He could have done a consequentialism presentation, but chose not to. Virtue ethics, he said he had no idea how to put pants into virtue ethics. I'd have to agree with him on this point. Virtue ethics is essentially, we've sort of shoved it to the side in terms of ethics and philosophy and being important. I particularly liked the vibes explanation because he just openly admitted that I was right, at least from a vibes standpoint. However, he did say one thing to note, and that is, no one looks at pants and is like, yes, pants, except when you've been deprived of pants and have them again. And I will say this is very true. And we actually talked about it in the question and answer period of the original talk a little bit, and in the after gaming sessions that we had, where M was talking about how they could not wear anything other than pants and be taken seriously as a human being because they themselves are non-binary, and the only way to be seen as non-binary in that sort of sense is with pants, because if you're wearing anything other than pants, you're just automatically assumed to be a woman. And so I understand all of that, and sort of did make a point for that. Maybe not in the presentation, but when in a minute I'll get to how this sort of fits in a little bit more. So I did want to say that Adam had a very good point on that. Give him the credit where it's due, though not much. His main argument focused around deontology. And deontology is one of those big words that you hear in college or in when people try to be smarter than they are, and which is why I'm using it now as much as I can. But his argument essentially boiled down to pants aren't capable of having a will, so they can't be evil. And if you don't get that joke, you need to learn a little bit more about deontology and Immanuel Kant, who is sort of the father of all of that. This is the third variation of this joke, but the only one that seemed to work. So here's the problem, though, and where Adam gets all credit taken away on this. I never said that pants were evil. In fact, I said three things that could have possibly been taken to say that pants were evil. The first one is that there's an oppressive force that no one talks about, but that affects us all. Oppression is evil. There's no way around any of that. And it wasn't, from the way that I intended it, was not to say that pants were evil. It was the wearing of pants as being part of an evil, overarching fashion structure that exists, that we are all a part of. And I think part of what may have caused some confusion was that I left out a section, a small couple of sentences that mentioned that women and people who were assigned woman at birth are actively seeking to be oppressed by these by pants themselves, because they are seen as where the power sits, right? There's a saying, we know who wears the pants in this relationship, meaning that you're the man and the other person is the woman, and the implication there is that men are better than women, which is just objectively wrong. So I did forget that, but this is the first sort of thing that Adam might have taken as pants are evil. No, just an oppressive force, part of an oppressive force. No more evil than, say, a firearm. Because, yes, firearms are used to do evil things, but they are also used to hunt and other things that I'm too liberal to understand. I also said that pants are bullshit, because they are. And there is no, I even saw Adam, just camera, Adam was shaking his head in agreement. That was actually the title of the presentation, was that pants are bullshit. And I said that Henry VIII of England was evil. He's probably one of the most evil villains in all of history. Excuse me. So all of that, watching this video over and over again in preparation for this rebuttal, I feel this sort of made me dumber. It's frustrating because, again, the second 3/5 of that presentation were very well put together, very obvious that Adam knows what he's talking about, but just those first 5 minutes leads me to the only proper conclusion, and that is Adam Jeffrey Del Cano is a stupid doo-doo head who doesn't know anything. Now, on a side note, there was a question brought up at the end of Adam's presentation, and I know I said I wasn't going to touch the Star Wars one, but in 2016, I was asked on Facebook where the Star Wars universe was or when the Star Wars were taking place, and I did the calculations. So the government may not have answered you, Adam, but I will. So this is just copied and pasted from Facebook. If we look at this scientifically, the closest galaxy to us is 27,000 light years away. So if we capture the light from those stars, from those called the Star Wars today, then that light we captured left after humanity had been around for 123,000 years. I don't remember why I needed to include when humanity was as part of the original question. But before civilization itself started to appear. However, because it's a galaxy far, far away and not the closest galaxy to us, that means we probably shouldn't be looking at the closest one, but one that's much farther away, the closest local, the farthest local galaxy group is 11,700,000 light years away, which means that the light would have had to leave during Earth's Neogene period, which is long before humanity existed, but it still kind of looked basically like what the world looks like now. So that's to answer that question, that long burning question that you have had. Somewhere in the farthest local galaxy group from us that we can see. Like, we still have to be able to see it, so it has to be. So I hope that answers that question. Any other questions?
Let's start by giving Ben a round of applause.
So I know you never said that pants were evil. Do you believe pants are evil?
I do not. No, I think that unfortunately Adam's conclusions were correct based on a false starting point. Which, if you were to take the New York State Math Regents, you would get partial credit for that. However...
But if you start with one false axiom, you can technically prove any false statement.
Exactly. That brings up a point that I forgot. Adam actually uses a logical fallacy at the end of his presentation to sort of link the two together. He says that because Jason will be evil and pants aren't Jason, pants aren't evil. And I was like, that is the worst logic of anything I've ever heard. Because that you could literally say, well, Jason is going to be evil and Hitler isn't Jason, so therefore, no, it just doesn't, no, because Hitler's objectively evil. Sorry, yes. Anyway.
So were the Neogene water bottles invented during the Neogene period? Is that why?
That's a really good question that I don't know the answer to.
While I appreciate you giving me a bunch of credit for the Star Wars stuff, how much did me not remembering Shmi Skywalker's name call that into question for you?
Well, if you read the comments under the video, it was a lot. In fact, this presentation was 30 times longer than it is now, just on that. No. It actually was going to be a lot longer, and I was going to include the Star Wars stuff, but the more I looked at it, I'm like, no, he's right. But yeah, no, the Shmi Skywalker was... It hit me. I screamed at the TV.
Do you expect this conversation to continue? And if so, in what direction?
I fully expect it to continue.
Oh no!
So every couple months, we're going to have another pants. Pants are chaotic good.
Yeah, right? I don't know, because I look around the room and everybody is wearing some form of pant except for me.
I call these
that
double kilts. See the rubber there?
double kilts.
And shorts are even more double kilts.
So,
I am, as per usual, wearing a dress.
okay,
I am.
How do you feel about culottes?
I don't know what those are.
Oh, back when I was younger, there were like women's outfits that looked like long dresses, but they were actually, you
Yeah.
know,
Oh,
pants.
Elephant pants meets capris.
okay. I think I've seen those then. I just didn't know their name.
Yeah, they were very loose, so you didn't, if a woman was standing, not walking, you'd think they were wearing a long.
Yeah, like, so if you have studied the history of pants, you know about bloomers.
Yes.
They were what bloomers became. So they were
Okay.
a split skirt.
I could see those being more comfortable, but it would depend on what the ankle situation or the hem situation down would. If it was too tight, not letting enough airflow through it.
Yeah, they weren't
That
tight
was-
at all.
That was the original offering for women's Boy Scout bottoms, was culottes. So when I was working at Scout Camp, I managed to find on eBay 5 pairs of ancient culottes, and that is what I wore
Oh, wow.
exclusively.
Awesome.
Yeah, I am pretty cool.
Any other question?
So if Germany had kilts, they would be called Lederhose, not Lederhosen.
Oh.
Actually, no, because hose is the German word for pants.
Right.
And
Hosen is plural for hose.
hosen is, I don't think it's plural. I think it's the diminutive form, which is why they're more like shorts and overalls.
Okay, I stand corrected.
The leader is the leather also, right? So it'd be
Yeah.
a leather
Yeah, it's
kilt. It
leather.
would be way more like Braveheart.
Yeah. Even though, well, it's not going to the historical accuracy of Braveheart wearing kilts, because
Because they wore nakedness into battle.
Yes.
all right.
All right. Let's give Ben another round of applause. Thank you so much for joining us.
I just like that I